hello from outside what is now a very quiet MKM Stadium. But an hour or so ago, it was far from that. After Hull City won 4-1 against Cardiff City to celebrate their 120th birthday in some style. For those of us that have watched City at home for quite a while, we've not seen too many victories. That's just the third one so far in 2024, and the first one, of course, under Tim Walter, and first since early April when City beat Queen's Park Rangers. It didn't start particularly well, if we're truthfully honest. City were in their black kit, which their one-off black kit. It was a really poor start, really sloppy. Cardiff, bottom side, obviously sacked their manager last week, had only scored one goal in the season up to this point, went ahead when Callum Robinson broke away down the right hand side and slapped in past Ivo Pandor. A bit controversial, that goal. Some suggestion that he was offside. In real time it looked really close. Tim Walter feels, having watched the replay, he was offside, but obviously there's no VAR or anything like that, so the goal stood, and City were a goal down. The fans instantly were frustrated, as you can imagine. They've not seen much here for, well, what are we, the end of September? They've seen 2 wins all year, so it's understandable. But thankfully City within 4 minutes were level. Mohamed Belloumi got the first of 2 goals. The first one wide on the right, he killed it in. I thought Malem at first may have got a touch, but it looks like it's gone straight in past Jack Alnwick in the Cardiff goal. City won each. So they scored after 18 minutes. City were level 22 minutes, and it was a really open game. And you kind of felt that even then, well, after 20 odd minutes, that wasn't going to be the end of the scoring. Both teams looked really shaky defensively. Obviously Cardiff, given the fact they're bottom, that was no surprise. And the issues that we've seen with Hull City throughout the start of the season, perhaps no surprise that they were so open as well. But the second goal was a work of art from Belloumi. Marvin Malem's lovely pass through for Belloumi to run onto, and he escaped the challenge, and then his clip over the goalkeeper was absolutely sublime. It was just beautiful with his right foot. Alnwick came rushing out, and he just lofted it over him and into the back of the net. And that was 2-1. That was after 35 minutes. And so, having been the goal behind, as they were at Stoke last week, City came back to lead 2-1. But that was, I think, the first time this season they'd actually scored in the first half of the game. So that was a real positive. So they led 2-1 at half-time. And I think if you think back to a lot of games we saw last season, City, under the previous manager, Lynn Rossini, City might go 1-0 up, but then they kind of would sit back and invite pressure, and they dropped an awful lot of points throughout last season from going in front and then sitting back and you just want them to press the foot on the accelerator and go and kill a team off and get that second goal, the third goal, and really take advantage. But that we saw that at Stoke last week. That's what the team did. They got the second goal and they got the third and killed it off, and that's what they did here early in the second half. A couple of corners Cardiff couldn't get out, and Oscar Zambrano slapped it in, albeit via a really healthy deflection which wrong-footed the goalkeeper. But that was 3-1, and they were kind of in dreamland really. But then they really took their foot off the gas. Belloumi was taken off after 59 minutes. City just lost their way a little bit. They still created the odd chance, but they lost their way, and they allowed Cardiff to regain a foothold. They created some really good chances, Cardiff, and Ivo Pandor in goal made 2 or 3 decent saves. Regulation saves, I would suggest, not particularly difficult saves, but even so, I guess that was the warning that Cardiff, had they have got the next goal, Cardiff, it would have set it up for a potentially a nerve-biting or a nerve-shredding conclusion. But to be fair to City, they didn't play particularly well in that kind of 20-minute phase after Belloumi went off. But they didn't concede. They sort of hung in there. They created chances. They wasted a couple of really good chances as well. And then they got the 4th goal in the final minute. Abu Kamara, who came off the bench. I still can't believe the tackle. The ball's come to Kamara at the back post. He's made a right mess of it. And then the defenders, a bit like the Bristol City one actually on the opening day, just clattered him, completely unnecessarily clattered him. Kamara's gone down. It's a penalty. And then Chris Bedia, who I thought played well. He led the line really well on his own. It's probably the best performance we've seen from him. Alnwick's made 3 great saves in the game. Before that moment, the goalkeeper's made three great saves to deny Bedia throughout the game, one of which was an absolute perler in the second half. There was one in the first half, actually. Bedia did really well back to goal, just shrug off the defender like he wasn't there, and he's powered it towards the top corner, and Alnwick's got up and tipped it over. He was man of the match against Leeds for Cardiff last week, and he was again their man of the match today. So it was nice for Betty to step up, and he sent him the wrong way and slotted the ball in the back of the net. And that was 4-1, so it gave added gloss to the result. Which, look, it looks like a hammer in. I'm not sure if you watched the game, you'd say it was a 4-1 game. City, it was one of those classic Championship games where City probably had the better of the chances, and they took them. Cardiff, and you can see why they're struggling. They don't defend particularly well, and they obviously struggled to score at the other end of the pitch, which is, you know, never a great recipe, let's be honest. But look, for City, it was so important today that, given the fact that they'd obviously struggled at the start of the season for everything we've talked about a million times, we know why. They went to Stoke last week, they won 3-1 there. Regan said to me after the game at Stoke, if we don't beat Cardiff, it almost counts for nothing, and he's right. Today would have been really disappointing, particularly as well, you know, given all the celebrations around the birthday. You know, we had a lovely moment before kick-off when the likes of Dino and Brian Horton, Peter Taylor were all trotted out onto the pitch, Justin Whittle, loads more were all introduced to the crowd just before the teams came out. Obviously the new kit, the black kit, the club have put so much work into, you know, into the anniversary, the birthday. It would have been a real typical City, wouldn't it, if they'd have lost today, or even drawn. It would have just been a bit bleh. But, you know, fair play. They've come from behind again. They've won the game 4-1, and now you've got 2 away games coming up. Away at QPR on Tuesday night, then of course away at Norwich. QPR beaten today in the early kick-off at Blackburn Rovers. Norwich, really controversial game. They won 3-2 at Derby. Again, you won't be surprised to know if you remember the Norwich game at Carrow Road on the first day of last season, when their winning goal was a bit dodgy, wasn't it? It went behind the ball went behind the byline, the cross came in and they scored. Well, they've got 2 goals at Derby today, courtesy of balls going behind the line. So let's hope that doesn't repeat itself next Saturday. But yeah, particularly 2 games away from home at grounds that City don't have a great record at recently. It was really important to get that win today, get that first home win, get that kind of, you know, monkey off all of our backs, because we hate talking about City at home, or they've drawn or they've lost, as it's been, you know, let's be fair, as I say, this is only a 3rd win in 2024. That tells you everything you need to know. So we can all move on with our lives. They've won away, they've won at home, back-to-back wins. Now go to QPR, a team that have just been beaten away at Blackburn. Go and get a result, and then you go to Norwich and see what happens. And you've got the international break. Football's all about momentum. Football is all about building confidence, getting results, and then building that momentum. And you never know what can happen. And I think that is the key thing. They still look defensively, I think they take too many unnecessary risks. I thought they looked more solid late on at Stoke. Today I didn't think they looked particularly solid. I thought they looked a bit too open for my liking, but that comes from the way the midfield operates. I don't think it's structured or disciplined enough, and therefore they are quite easy to play against, you know, at the other end. And I think that is a concern. I think they need to tighten up. But I still think he's trying to find the right formula, and I think the players obviously are still trying to get used to what he wants. But going forward, I mean, they created a lot more today, a lot more efforts on goal, a lot more efforts on target key, and they've taken their chances. Yeah, I know some will say, well, you got, you know, the first one was a cross, the second one, good finish, third one, deflection, fourth one, penalty. But look, that's not their fault. You take what you get, and they got into good positions, they created good chances. You know, and so I think that is a real positive. And I think just with everything that we've talked about, with everything that was going on today around the stadium, around the club, to get that victory is so important. And it sets them up nicely for Tuesday night, doesn't it? And I think confidence is a funny thing in football. And we saw at the start of the season, they were scratching around for players to find the right formula, to find the right system. I still don't think it's perfect. I don't think we should, you know, they've won back-to-back games. I still don't think we should jump around and say everything's perfect, that everything's fantastic, because it's not. I still think I still have concerns about the way they play, particularly they're set up defensively. I'm not convinced that is, you know, I think I get that they want to play out, and I get the way they want to operate. And you know, as I say, going forward today was the best, probably the best we've seen at times. But Cardiff couldn't finish. You know, and Pandor made some good saves. Against a better team, you might not get that level of, you know, you might get punished. We saw at Leeds, we saw against Sheffield United that they got punished, probably not as much as they could have done. So that, you know, they did live dangerously today. But but I'm just really pleased for them and for the manager as well that they've come through and they've got a big 3 points. And I'm pleased for the supporters as well because, as we've said throughout, it's 2024 has been a difficult watch here. Yeah, they finished 7th in the league last season, but it was their home form that was rubbish, frankly. There was too many drop points. I spoke to Sean McLaughlin on Thursday, and he said, it was a problem, and they've got to make this place a fortress. Well, that's exactly what they've got to do, and that can only start today. They've got a great win, big 3 points. Now, you've got 2 away games, and you come back after the break with Sunderland and Burnley at home, and 2 of the toughest games you're going to get in this league. But what an opportunity now. Burnley have drawn away Oxford today. They're 2 real games to look forward to for City. And I think, given the fact that they've won here today, that narrative is dead now, isn't it? We've closed that narrative. They finally won a game at home, and as I say, we can all move on with our lives. So that is it. So happy birthday to Hull City. Huge credit to all the work that the club have done. I hope everybody's enjoyed it. I know there's a bit of a kerfuffle around the shirts and the availability of the shirts, but look, they've tried really hard to make it special, to make it different. There's been an awful lot of work that's gone on behind the scenes, so hopefully everybody's got something out of that and they've enjoyed it. And 3 points just, I guess, tops the week off nicely. A couple of things to mention. We did get to see Steven Alzate today for a little cameo appearance off the bench, which was nice. He'll be really, really, really useful going forward. Belloumi came off just before the hour with a knock on his ankle. I think that happened in the first half, and he just couldn't quite shake it off. So they're going to have to see how he is for Tuesday night, which would be a real kick in the knackers, wouldn't it? I think he scored 2 goals and was terrific today. And he was also good at Stoke last week. He won the penalty. He also made a massively important run for Regan's goal. If he doesn't pull the defender away from Regan probably doesn't get his shot away. So, after that difficult introduction against Sheffield United, I think Belloumi's done well, and it would be, as I say, it'll be a real gut wrencher if he's not available on Tuesday night, because I watched the Plymouth game last night. They beat Luton, didn't they, at home park, and the lad Sissoko, he looks a real talent, and I thought that when we played down there back in August, I thought Sissoko looks a bit of a live wire. And in a similar way, I think Belloumi is that. He's raw, he's got some rough edges. He needs to be, but he's got an awful lot of talent, and we've seen with his 2 goals today. Give him credit for the first one. Give him, we can all, did he mean it? It doesn't really matter. He's put a ball into a dangerous area, and he's got his reward, hasn't he? And the second goal is, I could watch that all day long. It's just absolutely sublime finishing. But they'll really hope that he's available for Tuesday night, because that would be a blow. Yes, they've got quality now. We saw Miller come off the bench. I was a bit surprised that Miller didn't start. Yes, I know he had an impact off the bench, but I didn't think the team first half at Stoke last week was that great. They're okay, nothing more than okay at Stoke. I thought Miller probably should have come in for Abdouche, because I don't think they're getting enough out of Abdouche. I didn't think he was anything special today. I thought Malin was better today. Not been overly impressed with Malin in the last couple of games, but I thought he was better. Obviously, a really, really good through ball for the second goal. So they've got options. Casey Palmer came back off the bench. He was not fit enough to start today, hence why Regan came back into the team. I mean, Regan deserved to start anyway, given his performance last week, but I thought Miller did. But look, there we are. So we'll see. We're back with Tim on Monday to preview the game at QPR on Tuesday. So we'll get a fitness update on Belloumi. But I think that was probably about it in terms of issues. We will have the podcast for you on Monday. Myself, Fletch, Burnsy, who was here today, and of course David Prutton. We'll look ahead. We'll look back on this. We'll look ahead to the game on Tuesday night and also the game at Norwich next Saturday. Just want to point you quickly as well. If you've not seen it, we did a special podcast for the birthday. It's quite a long one, so you might need to set a bit of time aside. It's a good hour and 3/4, but I hope you really enjoy it. There's some great names on there. We spoke to Peter Taylor and Brian Horton, both of whom were here today. We spoke to Nick Barmby. We, of course, spoke to Adjun Ilagela, the Hull City owner, who, again, was here today. Justin Whittle, Andy Dawson, Louis Coyle, Burnsy and Regan Slater. So, yeah, a real privilege to put that together. So, hopefully, amongst all the other great stuff that's gone out around the 120th anniversary, hopefully you get time to listen to that, because some great stories. It's always an absolute pleasure to talk to people like Peter Taylor. He's just, a phenomenal guy, a phenomenal figure in this club's history, and yeah. So hopefully, if you've not picked it up yet, you can get it from where you get all your podcasts from, or look on Twitter. I'm sure it will be there. David, sorry, think what he as far as I can, I don't know. He waved. I don't know what Tim didn't do. I'm not. Obviously, I'm full time. I'm trying to do a million things, so I'm not aware of. He did speak after the game about the crowd. He said the celebrations after the goals and the game were great. In terms of, you'd have to let me know what the issue is there. I'm not really sure. In terms of Ash, I know he's been involved. I know he had a shirt delivered to him on Friday. We would have had him on our podcast, but it's one of them. I've got a long list of people I wanted to speak to, and you just can't do everybody. There's so many. This club has had an incredible history. It's got so many iconic figures that are still around that want to be involved, and you want to talk. Unfortunately, you can't. You have to draw the line somewhere, and we just, we'd got as many as we could fit on the show, and ultimately, otherwise, if you have, Ashby and you have Dino and you've got 4 or 5 others, suddenly like you're looking at 2.5, 3 hours, and with the best will in the world, people just aren't going to listen to that. I was probably pushing my luck at 1 hour and 45 minutes with the people we got. So, but look, obviously, Ashes, we had him on the live show, the 1904 Club Live a few months ago. I saw him at Leeds. He's an absolute legend of the football club, and we will have him on again at some point in the future, because he's hugely pivotal to this football club's history. Of course he is, and it's great to see Stan coming through the ranks as well. So yeah, look, just great, isn't it? Great to talk about. Waggy. Yes, Waggy was. Yeah, Waggy was on the. He was part of the. We did a photo. There was a photo shoot at the Guildhall last week. Waggy was one of the players that went early, along with Curtis Davis, Brian Marwood, Gareth Roberts. It was spread across the day. I couldn't be there all day because of other commitments, like press conferences and things, so I could only go, and David Myler was there as well earlier in the day. So it's always down to diaries. We've all got busy lives, we've all got other things going on, and sometimes not everybody can be in the same place at the same time as much as we'd love to. So, but Waggy was here today. He was out on the pitch amongst the gaggle of legends that came out on the pitch, so that was great to see him. I would love to have spoken to him at the Guildhall last week, but as I say, we missed each other, unfortunately. But yeah, the club have done a phenomenal job in what they've organised. So look, that's it from here at the MKM Stadium tonight. Great win for Hull City. Lovely. So nice to talk about a Hull City victory. It really is. Oh, sorry, Louise. Yeah, look. So Louise is saying that Tim doesn't walk around the pitch to acknowledge the fans like Liam. Every manager's different. Some managers go up and do fist bumps. Some managers wave to the crowd. Some managers just prefer to clap and walk down the tunnel because they've got so much to do after the game, whether it be talk to the team, they've got the media commitments, meetings with he would have been getting off to meet the owner. Look, I don't think we should worry too much. A polite clap. For me, I don't need to see the manager jumping with joy on the pitch. They've beaten the team at the bottom of the table. Great as it is, there's still a long way to go. I don't think he should be doing any cartwheels on the pitch just yet. So every manager's different, and how they celebrate a win is up to them, and I think Tim's is quite reserved compared to what he's like on the touchline during the game. Polite clap and get on with it, I think. But yeah, that's it from here at the MKM Stadium. 3 points to City. Enjoy your weekend. Any thoughts, any comments, tweet us at the 1904 Club, and we'll get in touch with you on Monday.